Hey, Grand Ascension, it's me, Nisi Denise. I'm back to do a short reading. We're going to get back into The Universe Does Not Exist by Claudio Naselli. If you recall, we left off on the next chapter, which is called Navigation Beyond the First Dome. And I believe this would be considered chapter, let me see, Walking the Ancestral Land, Skies Falsify, the Dome Does Not Project Stars, the Universe. It's still part of the first section. It's still part of chapter 4. Chapter 4 is pretty long. So let's just finish this one up, all right? It's called Navigation Beyond the First Dome. I asked 2L whether there was any chance of approaching the ice walls through a safe zone, if such a route still existed, so that we could study the first dome from this side. Even though I had seen it each time I crossed, I needed to return and examine it closely, especially now with everything I was learning about the skies. Here's a picture of him standing in front of the ice wall. Okay. And he says, she raised no objection, though we would head for an area far from the Morris Passage or any other known crossing, since those regions were unstable. The vessel was unlike the ones I had traveled on before. In fact, I could not recall ever seeing anything similar. It was not an antique in a decorative sense, nor futuristic in any other ostentatious way. It was functional, and that calmed me. 2L assembled a group of men and women from the naval force once commanded by William Morris. The ship looked like dark wood, yet it had clearly been treated with compounds I did not recognize, a hull that seemed to absorb the swell instead of resisting it, and a constant vibration, a faint hum, barely audible, followed us the entire way. There was no visible engine. We departed from one of the protected ports, and within the minutes, the ancestral lands were receding behind us. As we drew closer to the ice walls, the air felt different, though breathing was not difficult at all. We departed from one of the projected ports, and within minutes, the ancestral lands were receding behind us. As we drew closer to the ice walls, the air felt different, though breathing was not difficult at all. The ice walls began to appear from an angle I had never imagined. From inside, they always present themselves as almost impierceable boundary. From the outside, however, they revealed themselves as a structure. The difference was abyssal. And I swore then that I had never seen them that way before. It was not an improvised barrier, but a designed edge, reinforced and maintained. In some stretches, though, the ice was not natural. It was translucent, with eternal layers reflecting a white light. That white light that did not come from the sun. In certain areas, portions appeared cut or sectioned. And there it was, the first dome, in all its magnitude. It was not invisible from this side, at least not entirely. And 2L later told me that on the interior side, it can also become partially visible depending on the light. Here it could be perceived as a subtle disturbance in the way light distributed itself. The sky did not project stars, but you could see them as if they had been added to the dome. It was a functional sky, flat in its behavior without the induced depth, and yet on the other side, the depth it reflects is astonishing, an operational ceiling in its full scale. From here, they don't need to convince anyone. One of the navigators said, watching my reaction, the vessel slowed. We were entering a controlled zone. Something shifted again in the air, and my sensation shifted with it. Perhaps it was also something I was feeling. In the distance, structures began to take shape. Unlike any familiar city, they were sectors outlined by almost imperceptible atmospheric variations. Some held a constant mist, others an excessive clarity. They explained that these were not clouds, but adjustments originating from within. From this side, more than a world, it looks like a great greenhouse, Tol-El said, pointing toward the horizon. Look at this picture. So see, when you're on the outside looking in where we're at, it looks completely different. There's sections that are just put in. So you can tell that it's not real because they don't need to convince those that are on the outside what the known lands are, which is here. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, Nisa, you're stretching. I say do your own research. I posted a video a couple of days ago. I reshared that Val sent me from Admiral Byrd when he was flying on one of his missions to the ice walls. And there was land there. And I could have swore on one of those episodes that I saw a while back where it said that they could see woolly mammoths. So I'm just going to tell you, I mean, we have definitely not been told the truth. If they have a problem releasing all the Epstein files, it's because the government is in cahoots. The majority of people in the government are corrupt pedophiles, some of them, or the CIA and Mossad have their hooks in them to where they can blackmail them and get them to pretty much do what they want. You got to understand what this world is and what's been going on. We're dealing with some evil, evil, parasitic people. I'm just going to tell you. And this plays into it, whether you know it or not. So let's finish this up. So she said, she did not say it was contempt, but I could hear the pain underneath. Each sector operated independently. They told me there were small operational bases nearby, spaced apart and measured distances. Oxygen was monitored and controlled, reduced deliberately where needed, even enough to keep the population in a state of baseline fatigue. Elsewhere, certain toxins were released in doses so low they would never be detected as an attack, yet they could alter the nervous system over time. See, it's what they do to keep people from exiting. So then it says, there were zones of light overstimulation, others of deficiency. Some regulated sleep, others regulated impulse to confront or to confront. Everything seemed controlled. I should add that I did not see any of these bases from the inside. Everything was explained to me. The population isn't controlled as a single whole, she continued. It's segmented. They showed me schemes filled with statistic numbers and individuals per sector, emotional density, average stress level, capacity for reaction. Each region of the dome responded to a different balance. Not all humans lived under the same conditions. We know that, even if they believed they shared the same sky. Even within those numbers, the count of animals per region was included. We continued forward, skirting one of the Anunnaki custodian bases far enough not to be intercepted. From there, they monitored the dome sectors the way a farmer watches plots of land. They hate humanity, the captain and Tol-El said almost in unison. I looked again at the first dome from the outside. Something became obvious that could never be perceived from within. It did not cover everything equally. Some zones were more reinforced, others were more flexible. Regions where the projection was intense, others where it was barely held. The system was not uniform. It was strategic. The strongest zones, the ones under the greatest control, were clearly visible near the edges closest to the ice walls. A chill ran through me that did not come from the cold from the side. From this side, the cold did not feel the same. The vessel came to a complete stop, and the entire crew stared at the landscape up close. A deep pain could be felt, almost tangible. I understood something I had never considered before. There were not simply imprisoning humanity, they were sustaining it within a precise parameters in order to keep it under control. The danger was its potential to grow. We remained there a few minutes longer. No one spoke. There was no need. The system had shown itself on its own, without speeches. When we began the return, the sky of the first dome faded into the distance. Its bright points were still visible, though they slowly dissolved into the mist. I'm going to show you some pictures. I got tears in my eyes. Look. And that was chapter 4. I'm quite sad because we've been living an entire lie, all of our lives, all of us have. And, you know, a lot of people, like I said, Some people will not resonate with this message. They won't resonate with me reading this type of information to you and sharing it with you. There are people that say, oh, that's a great fictional read, blah, 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 blah. Like I said, I'm not trying to convince you guys of anything. I say you do your own research, but it's within our DNA. It's written within our DNA, within our melanin, within our skin, within our cells. You all know something is wrong. Okay. I don't need to tell you that. It's always fear, reaction, chaos, solution. And it's up to us to wake up, and it's up to us to move differently and live differently and think differently. Okay. So I'm just sharing this information to you. Like I said before, if I had an opportunity to go beyond the ice walls, I certainly would. And I would spend my rest of my days in the Gray Library there. I'm just telling you, reading and learning about the different extraterrestrial races and the different worlds beyond the ice walls. We all have our part to play within this dome. And my point is sharing this information, getting you to think a little bit, getting you to put the puzzle pieces together and see it for what it really is. It's really, excuse my language, it's really fucked up. It's a lot of bullshit. Shout out to Chief Red Wolf. I saw your video last night. You had asked if anyone did any research on that falling angel statue. I made a video several months ago about it. And from what I understand and from what I've read and what I've researched, that statue came out of a quarry in Siberia, Russia. They were taking pictures of it standing beside the statue. And you could clearly see the figure bending down on its knees with a sword and a shield. And then it had wings, and it just looked like it was completely frozen in place. They have the technology to do that, where they turn people into stone, organic material into stone. And I really, really, truly, it resonates with me that was an actual being, an actual person, and it got frozen or salted or whatever you call it. They have a word for it, I'm sure. But it lost its life that day. So that particular life in that particular body, bending down, those men that were standing next to it, it didn't even come all the way up to its head or its neck. So bending down, that statue, the way it was, that person probably was about 10 feet, 8 to 10 feet tall, at least, because the men were standing by and their heads were coming like right here. So if it was bending down on its knees, and we were able to come up to this high, it's got to at least be 8 to 10 feet. So I truly think that was a real being because of the detail in the face. It's like if I was to be frozen like I am now, you could see all of my lines, you could see the creases in my face, and there was very much detail. Nobody hand chiseled that thing. That was actual person that died. I'm just saying, that was unalived. So I couldn't find any more information. I thought they had put it on a truck and drove it out. But as I researched it further, there were 2 black helicopters that came in and lifted it up and took it away. And nobody's ever seen it since. So apparently it's probably some underground lab or some place where they've taken DNA from it. And who knows what they're trying to bring back or create. Just going to say, that's my own theory. That's my own analogy. We do know that the helicopters came and got it. Nobody's seen it since. And there was a news report on it, and then it just vanished. So it's like a Smithsonian type thing where they came in and took it, and you'll never hear about it again. So anyway, I just wanted to read that short chapter to you guys. When I come back again, my phone is dying, so I'm going to get off here. I'm at 13 minutes. When I come back again, well, let's just read chapter 5. It's only one page. It's what cannot be reached, cannot be verified. And this is it right here. This is going to be short. It says, the sea was strangely calm for how far out we were. The vessel moved without visible effort, sliding over very clear water. The captain stood with one hand resting on the rail, looking ahead. He did not look at the dome, but at the route. Have you seen it? He asked without turning. I imagined what he meant. Yes, I replied. From here, everything is completely different. He nodded slightly. That is the first thing that happens. I waited. I had learned that with the ancestrals, silence was also an answer in information. When you cross from the inside, he continued, you look at it as sky. From this side, it begins to behave differently. It no longer covers you. It no longer surrounds you. I looked at the surface of the first dome far away, a silent curvature. In the known lands, I said, almost no one even debates whether it's real. The captain barely smiled. The debate is already lost, he replied, because it is still playing inside the frame, the system itself that it was designed. The vessel advanced a few more meters. Everything vanished into the distance. Human beings always tried to explore, I said, to go further. Before, yes, he answered, when the edges were horizontal, when the limit was a line you could reach, not an infinite vertical abstraction imposed upon you. Now the desire to explore hasn't disappeared because a new humanity was left with no path to walk. That is why there is so much fascination with distant planets, he added. Always far, always unreachable, always future. The impulse remains alive, but it is aimed at places nobody will ever reach. Exploration delegated, I said. Exactly, he replied. You observe, others travel, you believe, others verify for you. The vessel slowed and turned gently until it brought us back toward the main port. Behind us, a naval patrol accompanied our return. Okay, so when I come back, we'll read Mystery Surrounding Drones and the Pleiadians. Okay, and that's still part of chapter 5. And I know my battery's going to cut off. Oh, it's only one page. I really want to keep reading, but I know my phone's going to cut off. It's literally flashing at me. So I'll tell you what, we'll come back, and when I get back into it, we're going to do a long reading of at least 30 minutes when I come back. Maybe later on tonight, we're going to get through, because like I said, I wanted to get through this book within a week, and I haven't been reading every day to you guys, but I want to get through this at least tonight and tomorrow. So I'll be back on a little bit later once I let my phone charge. But anyway, this is a picture. And, again, shout out to Claudio Naselli. Don't know where the brother's at, but I appreciate him bringing this information out. And, like he says in his videos, you need to research yourself and come to your own conclusion. No one's trying to convince you of anything, but it is fascinating information. And I know that this is really real and it actually does exist. I don't have to believe. Belief is a lack of knowledge and knowing. It's like, I already know this stuff. I knew it. So anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing afternoon. I'll be back to do a second reading once my phone charges. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.